My name's Lynn, I'm one of the dietitians here, and today we're going to cook pasta. It may sound kind of funny that we're cooking pasta, because a lot of times if somebody has diabetes, you think that you can't have pasta, and that's not necessarily the case. One of the most important things is watching the portion size of the pasta. So today I'm going to cook some whole wheat pasta just because it has a little bit more fiber and protein than the white pasta. And I'm going to add a lot of stuff to it to give it some really good flavor. And the whole idea with this meal is if you're at home and you don't feel like cooking a big elaborate meal, if you have a little bit of pasta in hand and if you have some veggies, whether they're fresh or frozen, it's a quick and simple meal to sort of whip up together, and it's pretty budget friendly too. So I'm gonna just do a cucumber salad today that doesn't have any lettuce in it at all. So this salad, I'm gonna add some other, some herbs to it. I'm gonna use cilantro. And a lot of times if you think of seasoning foods, it's just standard salt and pepper. Try not to add a lot of salt to foods, especially if you're watching your blood pressure, if you have hypertension. You don't want to add a lot of salt to your food. So if you use different herbs and spices, and fresh, I always think tastes a little bit better. So if you can get your hands on those, it's always a good way to go. And then I have some good looking tomatoes over here. Okay, so then I'm gonna just throw these in. I also have an onion over here. This is a red onion. I find that red onions that are raw have a pretty strong flavor, so we're really not gonna use a whole lot of this. It's just to give it a little bit of a kick. And then with this, again, you can use, I don't think that you necessarily need to use a salad dressing, and anytime if you have some acid, whether it's from a lime or a lemon or some vinegar, maybe a dash of olive oil, and then just jazz it up with either like a little bit of pepper or the cilantro that I'm using. If you wanted to use some dill goes really nice with cucumber, you could do that too. So it's really, honestly, whatever you're in the mood for. We're gonna do cilantro today because it's a nice like springy vegetable. And this with the limes, I'm just gonna squeeze it in. Sometimes it's hard to get lime juice out, so I have found that if you keep these at room temperature instead of keeping them in the refrigerator, you'll get a little bit more juice out. They don't seem to have as much juice as lemon, so you have to squeeze it a little bit. I have the cilantro right over here. It's okay to eat the stems, but I find that the leaves have the most flavor. And if you just keep going like that, you sort of cut it off without having to do more, pulling of the leaves from the stems. Just give this a little bit of a chop. Move on to the asparagus. If you just bend it, it snaps naturally. If you love asparagus and you wanted to have it every night of the week, either steam it or saute it, roast it, you're really gonna have a lot of different flavors there. And if you've never roasted vegetables, it's really easy. You just take a baking sheet, put some tin foil on it, preheat the oven to about 350, and then you would just line either the asparagus or if you wanted some broccoli on there. Maybe a tablespoon of olive oil for the entire pan, not even that much if you don't want a lot of calories. Then you just toss it together with your hands, add a little bit of pepper for flavor, and roast it for maybe 20, 25, 30 minutes until it's nice and golden brown. And that you can add to pasta, or if you wanted to save the leftovers and have it the next day and put it in an omelet. It tastes so good, and it really sort of expands the omelet or the scrambled eggs. It's pretty delicious. So we're just gonna keep snapping these just like that. Just a few more here. And then over here, I just have a pot. I'm gonna put a little, to steam this, I'm gonna put a little bit of water here at the bottom, just to give it some moisture when I steam it. I'm gonna slide this over. And again, you could, if you wanted to steam, I have broccoli over here. If you prefer broccoli, you could add that to the pasta that we're gonna cook. But we'll put the asparagus in here just like this. Okay, I'm gonna put the top on just to, the water, the moisture is really what's gonna cook the asparagus. So let's just move this over, and I'm going to put this on high. And this doesn't take that long to cook. And again, with asparagus too, it's really a personal preference. I like asparagus if it's al dente. So if it tastes, I don't want to say tough, but if it's more firm. Sometimes you like it a little bit softer. But again, if you want to steam it for maybe 7 or 8 minutes or 10 minutes, it's really up to you. So what I have here, doesn't matter what brand it is, you just want a whole wheat pasta. The reason why you want whole wheat pasta is just because it has more fiber and it has some protein in there. The idea with fiber when you're having carbs or carbohydrates, which are starches, you know, like pasta, rice, potatoes, bread, the more fiber the better. Again, it helps to slow down the absorption of carbs and it makes you feel more full. So now what we're gonna do, boiling pasta is pretty easy. Once it comes to that boil, you add the pasta, and then this will take about 10 minutes to cook. Again, I like my pasta a little bit more al dente, a little bit more firm, but if you wanted it more soft, you can cook it for a longer period of time. So we'll give this about 10 minutes just to boil just like that. Our asparagus is looking really good. As you can see, how I test asparagus is honestly, I just sort of push it around. When I was pushing it around earlier, I lifted the lid up and I could feel it was sort of tough. And this is one of the things that when you cook it, you sort of get an idea if it's soft or firm. But this, I can tell when I'm feeling it, it's a little bit more soft than like the hard stalks that I put in earlier. I like the peas just because they have a lot less carbohydrates. Peas are considered a starchy vegetable. So what that means is technically it's a vegetable, but because it has a lot of carbs in it, you want to take it into consideration if you're counting your carbohydrates. But with this, again, it's a much better option because instead of like white pasta, just plain white pasta, or like a plain slice of bread, these peas have more of that protein and fiber, which again slows down the absorption of carbs. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna put half of the pasta into this bowl and half the pasta into this bowl because we're gonna make these a little bit different. I'm gonna switch it up just to get the different taste of vegetables. So I'm gonna put about half in here and about half in here. And right away, I'm going to add these peas. And again, if you want it, you can measure these out. What I'll do is I'm gonna put about a cup. And again, if you wanted to do more, you absolutely could. So I'm gonna put about a cup of the peas into one dish, about a cup into the other. And even if you wanted to do less pasta and more of the peas, you absolutely could. The one pot over here, I'm gonna add some of these roasted vegetables. And again, I talk a lot about roasted vegetables. I think that they just taste awesome. So what I have in here is some roasted asparagus and some roasted broccoli. So I'm gonna just throw these in there right like that. Okay. So we've got that. And we'll throw these right in here. Just like that. So now I'm just gonna add about a tablespoon of olive oil. Now, even though olive oil is heart healthy, doesn't mean that you can have a lot of it just because it has a lot of calories. So when I'm cooking with olive oil, whether it's to pasta like this, or if I'm again roasting vegetables, or if I'm using it in any of my cooking, I always measure it out first. So we have a tablespoon right here, and I'm just gonna I always start with less. I mean, you can always add more, but we'll do about a tablespoon. We'll do about a tablespoon and a half, and then we'll do about the same over here, maybe a little bit more. Okay. So I'm not gonna add salt, but I'm gonna add a little bit of pepper. I think pepper just really sort of jazzes it up. We'll do some pepper over here and some pepper over here too. I like the fresh Parmesan. This you can keep and you can just sort of shred as much as you want. You know, if you wanted to use it one night, save it for the next. And this is just a little grater. I'm gonna put right on here. Okay, so thanks for joining us today. I'm Lynn at the Friedman Diabetes Institute, and cheers to happy and healthy cooking.